Hello all, this is KJ, or aka Kryptonian Jedi, on Discord in the Ashes of Creation forums. I'm not sure if Steven and the crew at Intrepid are open to this, but I've been working on some possible changes to the class list that was revealed recently. Like some of you out there, I was a bit underwhelmed at some of the choices made for this listing. In my humble opinion, I feel that there's a lot of redundancy with some of these names. There's far too much repetition with names containing words such as blade, dancer, knight, shadow, spell, etc. Now, I would like to mention first that in no way am I pointing a finger at the creators of this class list, nor do I mean to criticize him, her, or them in any way. A list of this magnitude can be a huge undertaking. Coming up with 64 names is not easy. First, before I dive in, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Agelos, Gundel, and Theus over at Dungeon Crawler Network, as their feedback in their From the Ashes episode 34 was not only a huge help, but inspired me to finish this after a bit of procrastinating on my part. I'd also like to add that a few of the following suggestions I make are not necessarily changes I feel have to be made, but simply a recommendation on a possible alternative. However, some class names I chose I do feel would be better suited for some combos, in addition to removing some of the aforementioned repetitiveness. Excuse me. Also, there are some names that Intrepid chose that I feel would be better suited for their class combo counterparts. For example, I feel the Templar is more fitting for a fighter cleric than it is for a cleric fighter, while Crusader would be a more appropriate choice for a cleric fighter. Thus, I moved Templar over to fighter cleric, as you can see here, and instead slotted Crusader to the cleric fighter spot down here. Keep in mind, if you see that a name that you liked for a class combo has been changed, it may have been moved to its class combo counterpart. Say that 3 times fast. Having said all that, I realize some of my choices may not be ideal, as I am uncertain as to how the mechanics of some of these classes combos will even play out. For example, my choice for a Chloromancer for a Summoner Ranger may in fact be an awful choice if Intrepid has no intention of having a Summoner Ranger summon plants. Essentially, some names I choose or have chosen might not correspond well with what Intrepid has planned for some class combo playstyles. My main goal in revamping this class list is just to provide some alternative choices to Intrepid that might better appeal to the players out there like me that may be unhappy with some of the current choices that were made. I know some of you out there are questioning whether or not to continue with your initial choice of class combination because you don't particularly care for the name chosen for your ideal combo. And I completely understand this, because let's face it, the name of the class combo we choose is extremely important to some of us. And who knows, if feedback on this is well received, maybe Steven, Jeffrey, Akil, or the crew will incorporate some of these choices. I don't know who's responsible for class names, but maybe they'll incorporate some of these options. Better yet, maybe perhaps we may even get a future event out of it where we can vote on names for some of these classes. Um, Assuming, though, that it doesn't interfere with Intrepid's plans too much and we've attacked this early on enough in the planning stage. Obviously they're not going to want to change names, at some point. At some point they're going to become set in stone, I would imagine. But even if a player vote doesn't happen, if I can get Intrepid to change one name to something that makes players happier about the class combo they will be playing, then I'll be happy. I've achieved my goal. So, thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing your feedback on this. Um, Hopefully, I'll make some people happy, and feel free to give me some recommendations if you have them in the comments section of this video or on Discord, and let's get started. So first, with fighter, weapon master, I'm happy with weapon master. And you're going to see these little notes pop up. I left the notes obviously because there's 64 classes, and I wanted to get through this with a little help here. So I left some notes for me for this video. So fighter, weapon master, happy with weapon master. I have no problems with this name. It's a good choice. So on to fighter tank. Original name was Dreadnought. I love the name Dreadnought, but feel it's better suited for the tank fighter counterpart. I really wanted to see the name Barbarian or Berserker somewhere in this class list, and in tabletop games they typically fit the fighter tank style, so I placed them both here. You know, I couldn't decide on either one of them, and I want to leave as many options as possible. So I moved Dreadnought down to the tank fighter class, and I'll get to that later. Next on the list is Fighter Rogue. This was Shadowblade. So I'm kind of meh on the Shadowblade name, as I feel there's already too many combos with either Shadow or Blade in the name. In addition, I love the name Swashbuckler, and feel it fits beautifully here. So Swashbuckler is what I threw here. You know, you've seen that name in some tabletop games, and maybe perhaps even some MMOs. So I chose Swashbuckler for here. You know, I think it's a pretty cool name that fits the fighter rogue style. Next is Fighter Ranger, excuse me, and here the name was Hunter, which is pretty common, and I have no problems with that name either. But I think Sentry is a little bit better. So the note I left was Fighter Ranger, Pathfinders, and Astute Sentry. So I thought, why not just call this combo Sentry? Having said that, I'm fine with Hunter, but I do prefer Sentry. For the Fighter Mage, Spell Sword, I'm good with that. Spell Sword is typical for a Fighter Mage. Like I said, I'm good with it. Next is Fighter Summoner, and they've got Blade Caller. So Intrepid's choice of Blade Caller is cool. I like the name Blade Caller, particularly if Intrepid plans for this class combo to summon blades. So if they're summoning blades, Blade Caller fits, and I'm good with that. Next is Fighter Cleric. Once again, Templar was the Cleric Fighter choice for via Intrepid. And, you know, it's not a bad choice, but I just think Templar fits much better for Fighter Cleric. I did not like High Sword. So like I said here, really don't like the name High Sword. It's borderline cringeworthy in my humble opinion. Not to mention Sword is already being used. Sword is already being used in a few other names. I believe Templar would be perfect here. Yes, I realize it's already being used somewhere else, but I've got a solution for that, and we'll get to it. So I kind of already spoiled that one, but we'll get to that later. We'll touch upon it a little bit more. Next or last on the fighter list is Fighter Bard. Blade Dancer. I like the name Blade Dancer. It makes perfect sense here, so I'm good with that. So we'll move on. Next is Tank Fighter. Go down to the next row here. Tank Fighter is a Knight. I'm fine with Knight, but it's kind of a little bland. As I said here, Knight is a bit plain Jane, and I've got use for the word Knight elsewhere. Plus, I feel Dreadnought is perfect here, as Dreadnought's in tabletop, particularly the type of class that takes a beating, which makes it a bit better for Tank Fighter than Fighter Tank. So, you know, if you guys disagree with me, just let me know. But, you know, some of you may want to keep it where it is, and maybe Intrepid wants to keep it where it is, but I think if it's better down here. And Knight's not bad, but we'll get to that. I got a better place for it. So the next one is, it's going to be Tank, and I've got Juggernaut. Who doesn't love the name Juggernaut? So I don't hate Guardian here. It fits, although I do prefer Juggernaut for a tank. Call me crazy, but I think Guardian would be a better fit for a tank mage, as I can picture them casting auras as a means to guard themselves or others. So we'll get to that later as well. So next one is going to be the Tank Rogue. And for that one, my preference is to go with, let's see if I can get this here. There we go. So my preference is to go with Dark Knight here, but Night Shield, I'm just, like I said in the notes, another cringeworthy name. This name screams of a lack of creativity, almost as if this was the last class combo name that was decided upon. Let's see if I can get this over here. And everyone was fed up at that point and just said, screw it, let's call it Night Shield. Also not a fan of Night Shield because, once again, There are other names using both Knight and Shield. And I'm sure some of you probably noticed the repetitiveness of some of the names. But I would think that, Knight Shield's not bad, but because of the duplication with Knight and Shield, I would prefer to have it called Dark Knight. That would be awesome. I mean, who doesn't love Batman? And Batman's the Dark Knight. But obviously this isn't comics. This isn't Batman. So people might hate it. I don't know. I prefer Dark Knight. Dark Guard would even be better. Dark Guard's cool. I like that. That fits the Tank Rogue class combo in my humble opinion, and they're both better than Night Shield, I think. Tell me if you agree or disagree in the comments. So next is going to be the Tank Ranger. So Tank Ranger is Warden. See what I put there. The old reliable. Got to have a Warden somewhere, and this seems like a no-brainer, so I'm completely good with Warden here, so we won't waste any more time on that class combo. Next one's Tank Mage, and I have Guardian here. As I said in the notes, Spell Shield isn't horrible, but there are just too many names consisting of Spell and Shield. As I said previously, I think Guardian would be good here, as I picture a Tank Mage type character that uses casts auras, shields to defend themselves or others. So, Tank Mage would cast or use aura and shields to defend themselves and others. So, Guardian is my choice for Tank Mage. Some of you may prefer originally where it was in the Tank, but I like Juggernaut there. So, once again, tell me what you think. So, Tank Summoner is Keeper. I'm good with that. Kind of like the name Keeper here, and I'm really curious as to how the mechanics of this class will work. So, curious to what Intrepid's thinking on this one. So, I'm fine with that name there. It's original. It's not a duplicate. Next is the Tank Cleric. Excuse me. Tank Cleric is next, and that's Paladin. We've known this all along. Steven and Jeffrey have mentioned this a couple of times in some of the live streams and whatnot. So, no surprise there. And Paladin is one of my favorite classes in MMORPGs, and this is the spot you'd expect it to be. So, once again, no complaints. Next is Tank Bard. Tank Bard. The names I came up with here were Firebrand and Provoker. This is the one name that really has me scratching my head, the Argent name. I'm curious as to the thinking behind the name they chose, Argent. Not a fan. Maybe that's because I don't get it. If it were me, I'd go with either Firebrand or Provoker. Both essentially mean the same thing. Their synonyms for Firebrand are Revolutionary, Rabble-Rouser, and Troublemaker. Provoker is obviously someone that provokes. I can easily picture a tank type that loves taunting others, which fits the Bard class. I think either name fits the bill for this combo, though. Either Firebrand or Provoker, they're essentially the same. But both are, to me, are head and shoulders above Argent. But, that's my opinion, and opinions are like, everyone's got one. So, once again, this whole revamp is just my personal opinion. Some will take it or leave it. We'll see where it goes. But I just thought it'd be fun to do too. So let's move on to the next row. Rogue Fighter. Duelist was the choice, the Intrepid choice there. So I don't hate it, but I'm a bit meh about it, or meh, I guess, about it. Would love to see the name Cutthroat. Would also prefer either Night Stalker or even Night Blade, although that gives us another name with Night and Blade in it, which I'm not thrilled about. So my first choice would be Cutthroat here. Cutthroat, I think, would be perfect for a rogue fighter. A little bit of a pirate, I guess, type combo class. So I would love to see Cutthroat here. No question. I prefer that over Duelist. Cutthroat's a lot cooler than Duelist, in my humble opinion. So next is going to be Rogue Tank, and I put Vindicator here. Shadow Guardian's not a bad name, but once again, Shadow. So as I put in the notes, not opposed to Shadow Guardian here. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. For the same reason as before, it's another repetitive name. Vindicator would be cool. here. One definition for Vindicator is to get revenge for revenge, which sounds fitting for a rogue tank to me, so I would go with Vindicator there, but like I said, don't hate Shadow Guarding. Rogue Assassin. What can you say? I mean, Assassin is tried and true. It's a perfect choice, and I can't imagine a more fitting name. Pretty much expect Assassin in this spot, so we won't spend any more time on that one. Rogue Ranger. They have Predator. I love the name Predator. I think perhaps Infiltrator would fit better for a Rogue Ranger. It's just my 2 cents. My choice here would definitely be Infiltrator. I feel it's a perfect name for a Rogue Ranger. Predator is a great name, but I feel it's more fitting for the Ranger Rogue counterpart. Worst case scenario, if Intrepid sticks with Predator here, I would like to see it, meaning Infiltrator, there instead of Scout. So essentially what I'm saying is I'd like to see Infiltrator in the Ranger Rogue spot for, replacing Scout if it can't be used here. But my first choice would be to use Infiltrator under Rogue Ranger and then move Predator to Ranger Rogue, which I think is more fitting. Once again, I want to reiterate, I have no idea where Intrepid's going with some of these classes, what their play styles are going to be, what the play mechanics are going to be behind these classes. So it's a bit hard making selections on class names when you're not 100% in the know on where these classes are going or where they're headed. So. Next choice would be the Rogue Mage, or the next class combos. Rogue Mage, Spell Thief, and Shadowcaster are two that I thought would be good here. Night Spell, not a fan. If you're going to go with Night Spell, why not Spell Thief instead? So, what are the notes here I had? Ugh. Ugh, another name with Night or Spell in it. Spell Thief would be better as at least it only has Spell in it. However, Shadowcaster might also be good here. It's used in this combo's counterpart, but I prefer here, so I've got something in there instead for the Shadowcaster, which is the Mage Rogue, but we'll get to that in a bit. So next is Rogue Summoner. Shadowlord, I like that name. I know a lot of you that that have made videos or that have chatted about these class names. I've seen a lot of people like Shadowlord, but preferably Dark Lord would be Dark Lord would be preferable for me. So let's see what I got for the notes here. So I like the name Shadow Lord, but there are way too many names with shadow in them. This solves that problem, and the new name still sounds great. So on top of that, Dark Lord makes me think of Star Wars. Obviously, I love me some Star Wars, as you can tell. My username is Kryptonian Jedi. So yeah. Don't hate Shadow Lord, but I prefer Dark Lord. It resolves the issue with seeing shadow everywhere, and who doesn't love the Dark Lords of the Sith? So that's my choice for their Dark Lord. So Rogue Cleric Cultist is fine. I have no problem with that. Fine with Cultist, it fits. So that's my note for that one. Next and last on this row is Rogue Bard. So for the Rogue Bard, it was Charlatan. I think Charlatan is pretty cool myself, but I kind of like Scoundrel a little bit better. So the note I got here is Charlatan works, but I prefer Scoundrel. Love the name Scoundrel here, but I can live with Charlatan. Although Charlatan may be better for the Cleric Rogue counterpart. And I think I did stick it down there, so we'll get to that eventually. But Scoundrel for Rogue Bard instead of Charlatan is my choice there. So. The next row, Ranger. First on this row is the Ranger Fighter, and I think Intrepid hit this nail right on the head. Strider is obviously a shout out to Aragorn. I would imagine. I can't speak for Intrepid on this one, but I'm assuming so because that's pretty much what Aragorn was in Lord of the Rings, or he was called Strider. He was a Ranger Fighter, so essentially. So, my note for this one, who doesn't love Lord of the Rings? Aragorn was essentially a Ranger Fighter. Very pleased with the choice of this combo. So, like I said, I'm good with that. I couldn't have picked something better myself, so I'm very happy there. So, next one's Ranger Tank. Sentinel. Perfectly fine with Sentinel. I actually like that choice, so won't spend any more time on that one. Ranger, Rogue. Okay, here's where I stuck Predator. Pathfinder would also work. Scout was the original choice. And my note says Scout isn't horrible, but I find it a bit underwhelming. Who wants to be a Scout when you can be a Pathfinder? Or better yet, a Predator? I prefer Predator here and Infiltrator where Predator was originally. So as you can see, Predator was up in the Rogue Ranger spot, but I took that and moved it down here because I think it's more fitting for a Ranger Rogue. Ranger being the primary class. Predator, I don't know. I call me kooky, but I just think that it's a little bit more fitting here and Infiltrator there. But you could flip flop them. I think you could probably move Infiltrator down here and keep Predator up there, and I don't think it would be a huge deal. They're both fitting for either or, so it really comes down to what Intrepid is going to plan on doing with the either of those two class combos. So either way, whether it's Infiltrator or Predator, they're both better than Scout. Scout just is so not general, but it's weak. Scouts are typically, I don't know. It's not flattering, I guess. It's just not a flattering name that you're going to be psyched about with your class combo, in my humble opinion. Next one is Ranger, and we're going to go with Deadeye here. Hawkeye was the choice, so I kind of was poking a little bit of fun at Intrepid with this one. I said, will Thor or Iron Man be on this list too? I know a guy with a username Kryptonian Jedi shouldn't be poking fun at the name Hawkeye. Besides, his hero name is Hawkeye because he's talented with a bow. It fits, I get it. However, Deadeye sounds way cooler, so I went with Deadeye. I like the name Deadeye for this spot, for the Ranger. Tell me what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you prefer Hawkeye? Next, we have the Ranger Mage. Seeker was the choice I went with here, or you can go with Arcane Archer. Scion, I just don't get that. I don't get where they're going with Scion. Scion, the definition of Scion, I believe, is royalty or something like that. Royal family, or I can't remember what it was. But so my note here is: ever watched the show The Seeker? I don't know if any of you out there have seen that show. I'm assuming so because it's it's fantasy and we're all fantasy geeks pretty much. So yeah, the show The Seeker, if I remember correctly, he was pretty much a Ranger Mage type. He might, maybe not, but in my humble opinion, anything is better than Scion. Arcane Archer would also be great here too. So yeah, if I remember correctly, I haven't seen that show in several years, but if I remember, he was a Ranger Mage sort. I could be wrong on that. Next one is Ranger Summoner. They had Falconer here, but I moved Beastmaster here because I have a plan for the other class combo, the counterpart. So, as I say in the note, I like Falconer here, but prefer Beastmaster. And I needed to move that here as I have something planned to put there in its place. Anyone remember the movie The Beastmaster in 1982? If memory serves me correctly, that's essentially this class combo. And why would you want to be just a falconer summoning falcons when you can summon all sorts of beasts instead? So I do want to add that this could be tricky, if they, excuse me, if Intrepid specifically has someone summoning falcons in mind for the class mechanic or the way this playstyle works, then obviously Beastmaster is not going to work in this slot. So they would probably keep it down in the original spot, depending on what their idea for the class is. But I just figured, I'll throw it here. I'm just kind of, taking a stab at this revamp, just to kind of deal with the redundancy issue of some of these class names. So let's go to the next one. Ranger Cleric, Soul Bow. Once again, I'm not completely sure where they're going with this. I'm a little bit curious, but I chose Harbinger or Holy Warden, and you know, solo may work better depending on what they're aiming to do with this class combo. But the note I have is okay, so I don't get where Intrepid is headed with this combo. Will they be shooting souls with a bow, siphoning souls with arrows? Hard to pick a name here, as I have zero idea what the intentions are for this class, but I give it a shot anyway. I went with Harbinger or Holy Warden, but Soul Bow may be more fitting depending on where they are taking this class. So, as you can see, it's tough when you don't know the dynamic behind the class combo. So, next one, Ranger Bard. They have Bowsinger here. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that name. I don't know. Is he? I don't know. I'm not even going to kind of speculate because who knows. But Ranger Bard, I thought Wild Song would be fitting here rather than Bowsinger. But, you know, maybe not. Once again, no idea where they're headed with this class combo, but I like the name Wild Song either for Ranger Bard or its Bard Ranger counterpart. Alright, next row, Mage Fighter. They have Battle Mage. You can't go wrong with Battle Mage, right? I can't tell you how long it's been since I played a Battle Mage. Looking forward to playing one in Ashes. Great pick here, so won't spend any more time on that one. That's lock right there, pretty much, as far as I'm concerned. Next is Mage Tank, Spellstone. Not sure where they're going with this, but I like that name, actually. Okay, I guess, is what I put. Maybe a good fit depending on how the class plays. So, yeah. So, I think I may have been a little bit harsh there, I guess, saying okay, I guess. But, you know, it could be a cool name depending on how that class plays out. So, that combo, rather, plays out. So, yeah, so I'm not hating that name. Mage Rogue, Shadowcaster. Okay, that's where I moved. That was originally the name here, Shadowcaster. I moved up to the Rogue Mage spot. I just thought that would be better fitting for a Rogue Mage, but I guess it could be good for a Mage Rogue, depending on if they're casting shadows, and they don't want to have a Rogue slash Mage casting shadows. So I put Mystic here. I really want to see Mystic on this list, and we don't have it anywhere, and I thought it would be cool to have it here. Mage Rogue would be a cool spot for Mystic. So, a little harsh here on this comment as well, but I put another name with Shadow. Really? How about Mystic here? So yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much why I was not thrilled about the name Shadowcaster, because we've got, you know, I don't know how many names with Shadow in it, but we've got to, you know, move on with kind of trying to be original with some of these names here. So sorry for whoever created this list. I don't mean to, you know, harp on these things, but you know, just hopefully this can help you guys out. Maybe even a little bit, you know, even if you change one or two names on this list, just to kind of get away from the repetitiveness, that would be great. So next is Mage Ranger. They have Spell Hunter, so I don't know where. You know, my comment is Spell Hunter. Will they be hunting spells? If not, then I'm not thrilled about the name. Would Spellslinger work instead? You know, Spellslinger, obviously, people who played WildStar, that name will sound familiar. Obviously, you'll recognize it from that game. But, you know, I think it would be pretty cool here for a Mage Ranger. But, once again, don't know the class mechanics behind this combo, so Spell Hunter may be more fitting. We'll see. Next on this list, Mage. And I will definitely be playing Mage in Ashes of Creation. So, I don't like Archwizard. So my comment here is okay. So if they're going to call Archwizard, I really prefer Archwizard. Excuse me. I'd really prefer Intrepid just to call it Wizard and be done with it. If they're stuck on the name Arch, then I'd prefer they call it Archmage. Wizard would be my first choice. Archmage after that. Archwizard only if they have to. Sorry, but I had to grab something to drink there. Okay, so once again, I don't hate Archwizard, but I much prefer just Wizard or Archmage. For me, Archwizard just sounds a little bit funny. So next on the list is Mage Summoner. They had Warlock here, and I'm not completely opposed to Warlock, but I much prefer it in the Summoner Mage combo. I prefer Sork here, and I know Sork is already being used in the Mage Bard slot, but we'll get to that. So my note here is, in my humble opinion, Sork is a perfect choice for a Mage Summoner, much better than for a Mage Bard, where it is currently. Warlock is a great name, but is perfect for the Summoner Mage counterpart, thus I moved it here. So I moved Sorcerer here and moved Warlock in the Summoner Mage slot, and we'll get to that. Inquisitor for Mage Cleric. Acolyte. I'm not a fan of Acolyte. For me, Acolyte is another underwhelming name. Acolytes are typically trash mobs in some games. How about Inquisitor instead? Much cooler. Yeah, I would think about playing a Mage Cleric, but I just don't want to be an Acolyte. Acolyte is kind of like a follower or a lobby. So I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about Acolyte in this spot, but for Mage Cleric, I would definitely rather have be called an Inquisitor. Alright, next is Mage Bard. That's the final one on this list. And, whoops, get off there. Come on. So, Mage Bard is a Sork. That was originally a Sorcerer. I just don't see it. Scryer would work better for me. I don't know where they're going with that, but maybe Sorcerer is a good fit for what they're planning or they're intending to do with that combo, but I just would prefer Scryer. The note I put on this one was, this was originally a Sork, but I like Scryer here as I have trouble seeing where a Bard fits in with a Sork. However, I can picture a Mage Bard as being the Gypsy type that would use tools for scrying, such as a Crystal Ball. Also in WoW, the Scryer crafting profession creates scrolls, which you'd think a Bard would, who are typically known as being artists, poets, would be good at. So, I like Scryer there. I much prefer Sork under Mage Summoner, so I like Scryer here. Yes, Scryer was used for the Cleric Bard, but we'll get to that, the choice I have for that. So, next row is Summoner. First class combo under that, Summoner Fighter. Their choice was Wild Blade. I thought maybe Astral Warrior might work better. I don't hate Wild Blade, but I'm not thrilled about it. So the name I have, or the note I have here is not fond of Wild Blade. It's another name with blade in it. Emote Sigh. Not sure how this class will play out, but how about Astral Warrior instead? Alright, the next class combo is Summoner Tank. They have Brood Warden, Brood Warden, I'm drawing a blank on this, so I'm good with Brood Warden. So I have no idea what the how this class will play out. So Brood Warden might work. Next is Summoner Rogue, Shadowmancer, and obviously name's been used before. So it's classic. It's pretty much a mage rogue type, so I'm good with it. I like it. Next is Summoner Ranger, and this is where Beastmaster was originally. I moved it up to the Ranger Summoner because obviously I felt a Ranger could summon beasts. On top of just being a falconer, they could summon falcons if they wanted, but they could summon all sorts of animals, I guess. For here, I really wanted to see a Chloromancer. I don't know if any of you have played Rift, but I like the Chloromancer in that game. I think it would be cool if they had a summoner summoning plants and stuff. That'd be pretty sweet. I would love to see Chloromancer. So my note here is I love the Chloromancer in Rift. Who doesn't love a magic user that can summon plants? I'd love to see something similar in Ashes. This is where I believe that class combo would work. I've moved the Beastmaster up to the Ranger Summoner to replace the Falconer, which you'd think could do what the Falconer could do and then some. So I moved Beastmaster obviously up to Ranger Summoner, and Chloromancer is my choice here, and I'd love to, please Intrepid. Chloromancer would be sweet. Can you imagine summoning plants, rooting people and stuff? Poison. Oh, that'd be sweet. Next is Summoner Mage. This is where I put Warlock. They have Spellmancer. Once again, it's another name with Mancer in it, and Spell for that matter. So what's my note here? We already have a Shadowmancer, and do we really need one more class combo with the word Spell in it? Warlock is perfect here. Warlock's specialty is summoning demons and familiars. So, in my humble opinion, it works here more so than Mage Summoner. I really believe Sork works better there and Warlock here. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Give me some reasons why. I could be wrong. Maybe someone will point out a reasoning as to why this doesn't work here and it works better for Mage Summoner. We'll see. Next on the list is Summoner. Summoner, they went with Conjurer, and I love that name here. I'm really happy with that. See, my note says perfect. Enough said. So, yeah, I'm good with Conjurer. Summoner, Cleric, Necromancer. Yeah, obviously. I mean, also perfect. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Necromancer. I mean, who doesn't want to play Necromancer? So, that should be a popular class combo, I would imagine, in this game. Summoner, Bard, Enchanter. I'm good with that one as well. I think that's a perfect choice there. So another great choice is the note I left. So yeah, I'm fine with that. Next row, Cleric, Fighter. Here, I want to see Crusader so bad. It was Templar, and Templar is not a horrible name for a Cleric Fighter, but I would think it would be better for a Fighter Cleric. And I know where I'm going to go with this, but I want to see if I left it in the note, because I can't remember, to be honest, what I put in the note here. So I left, don't get me wrong, I love the name Templar. I just prefer it for a Fighter Cleric rather than Cleric Fighter. Here, I'd love to see Crusader. Templars are typically knights of religious bent, where Crusaders might be those focused on their religious crusade first and foremost, and would fight when needed or called for. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to say. So, I think Crusader would be fantastic here. I could picture a Cleric going on a crusade, Cleric Fighter specifically. So them being a Crusader would work. War Priest is another one that might work. I don't know. I'm not as big on War Priest as I am Crusader. I prefer Crusader. This is probably the biggest change I'd like to see would be Crusader here and Templar over under Fighter Cleric instead of High Sword. If there were just one change, or well, two technically, but that Intrepid makes with this class list from my recommendations, or one little thing they take in, and that would be Crusader Templar switch here. Move Templar up to High Sword, which is I don't like High Sword, and throw Crusader here, and I'll be happy. So if nothing changes besides those two, I've done my job. Next is Cleric, Tank. Alright, so here they had Apostle. No, not a fan. Avenger would be awesome. Holy Defender, Holy Protector, Holy Ward, even Watchman. They're all cool, I think. Better than Apostle for what it's worth. What's the note I left here? Don't like Apostle here at all. Any of the names I suggest here would be better in my humble opinion. And yeah, aren't Avengers and Cleric a Cleric Paladin tank type class in D&D? I can't remember, and it was too lazy to look it up, to be honest, because there's it was too much time invested in this to begin with. So as I said, seems fitting here, although I prefer any of the other choices I've listed instead of Apostle. Not a big fan of Apostle here, so or anywhere for that matter, really, because I don't know, just don't like it. If anything, it would be more fitting for probably maybe a Cleric Bard or a Bard Cleric. I don't know. So next on the list is Cleric Rogue. This is where I stuck Charlatan when I moved it from the other slot where Rogue Bard was, because I wanted Scoundrel there. So here, Charlatan, Deceiver, Acolyte would be my choice for this one. You know, you could even throw Acolyte over here. That was from the Mage Cleric spot up over there, right here. So I would go with Charlatan, Deceiver, Acolyte in the slot spot instead of Shadow Disciple. Shadow Disciple, are you kidding me? Another name with Shadow in it. And a Disciple is just a, you know, a follower, so a religious follower, I'm guessing, if I memory serves me correctly, but I don't know what the specific definition is, but anyway, so let's see the note. Once again, another class combo with Shadow in it. Emote facepalm. I move Charlatan here. Deceiver also works, even Acolyte for that matter. Not sure why I relate Charlatan or Deceiver to Cleric. Perhaps it is something to do with some of those preachers on TV telling me that God needs my money. So, you know, Charlatan works, Deceiver works, and that's not to say all preachers are bad. I'm not saying all religious preachers are bad. I go to church myself, so you know, it's just obviously some are charlatans. So, Cleric, Ranger, Druid. You gotta have Druid, right? You gotta have Druid somewhere on this list. Protector's what they had, and that's not horrible, but come on, you gotta have a Druid on this class list somewhere. You got 64 combos or 64 choices. You've got to throw Druid in there somewhere, in my humble opinion. So I threw it here. Cleric, Ranger, Druid. Why not? Druids heal, and they're kind of, you know, wilderness types. So why not have it be a Cleric, Ranger? So the note I put is, we absolutely must have a Druid somewhere on this list. Can't see a better place for it than here. Protector is too generic. Druid is better, but that's just my opinion. And it's the right opinion. No, I'm just kidding. It's right in my mind. I'd go with Druid anyway. So hopefully some of you agree with me. You got to have Druid on this list somewhere. Cleric, Mage, Oracle was the choice here, and I think Invoker would be awesome here. Invoker, because, you know, D&D, is it? I can't remember if it was Pathfinder, D&D, whatever tabletop game. Cleric mages, they were invokers, I think, or maybe it was a mage cleric, I don't know, but you invoked your deity to cast spells. I can't remember what tabletop game that was or where that's coming from, but in the back of my mind, that's what I think of when I think of a cleric mage. I think of someone who invokes their deity to cast their spells. So invoker would be awesome here. Next is the cleric summoner. They have shaman, and I'm fine with that. I think that's an awesome choice. I love shamans, so I may even play one in Ashes. I'm not 100% sure. Depends on the mechanics behind it, but yeah, you got to have shaman somewhere, and why not here? It's a pretty good spot. So I like the note I said. Bingo! I'm happy. So good with that one. Next on the list is cleric, and I will definitely be playing a cleric at some point. They have high priest, and I don't hate high priest, but I just don't love it either. So I chose sage and archbishop, and I think I preferred sage, but I'm going to check the note just to make sure to clarify. Yes, cleric is one of the combos I plan to play. Not thrilled about high priest, but it could be worse. Having said that, I prefer archbishop or sage. Sage might actually be my first choice over Archbishop. I'm still on the fence. Okay, so yeah, I was still on the fence when I wrote that note, but I'm going to give Sage the nod. I think I prefer that a little bit more over Archbishop, but let me know in the comments what you think, or in Discord. Feel free to, you know, send me a whisper or whatever. Okay, so Cleric, Bard, Friar, Abbot. Oh, please, Intrepid. Please, we need Friar or Abbot on this list. Scryer, yeah, not for a Cleric Bard. Scryer's not bad, not for a Cleric Bard, though. Scryer, I prefer up in the Mage Bard area. I don't see where a Cleric who are typically, you know, religious types, I don't see how they would fit into a Scryer. So yeah, I don't love Scryer at all there. I much prefer it in the Mage Bard slot. Here I have Scryer's not bad here, but I prefer it above in the Mage Bard slot. Here I'm really hoping for a Friar or even an Abbot. Please, pretty please, Intrepid. So yeah, pretty please with sugar on top. Love to see Friar or Abbot. Think about how cool a Friar would be. How many games do you get to play a Friar in? Seriously, they need more MMORPGs where you can play a Friar. And it fits. Cleric, Bard, come on. Friars, play their instruments or whatever. I think. Besides drinking a lot. So, Cleric, Bard, yeah, Friar. Abbot would be cool, but Friar is my first choice. Alright, so last line here. Bard, Fighter, Telsword is what they've got. And Intrepid, I think, did alright with this one. So, I'm good with it. I know the name Telesword has received a complaint or two, but I kind of like the name. Yeah, a couple of, I can't remember where I heard that. I watched a few videos on YouTube and been kind of following Discord a little bit, so I'm not sure if someone said it in a video or on Discord, but for some reason, somewhere I remember somebody saying they weren't thrilled about Telesword there, so I don't mind it though, so I'm good with it. Bard Tank. They have Siren. No, Siren. Yes, I love a Siren. I love that name, and we'll get to where I slotted it instead. But not for a Bard Tank. I can kind of see where they may be going with this, with the, the tank summoning, maybe singing or musically summoning. So I don't know. I prefer War Chanter. That's the name I came up with here. Jester was one I've heard somebody else mention, and I can't remember honestly if they had it here or not under Bard Tank. I just threw it there though, just because Jesters like to taunt or kind of pick on or jest with people. So I guess that could work here. I'm big on War Chanter myself, but Siren definitely not. So the note I left is, love the name Siren, just hate it here. Since when are Sirens tanks? War Chanter would be my choice. I've seen Jester mentioned, so I threw that in as well. Next on the list is Bard Rogue, and I threw Trickster here. Or no, actually I didn't. That was Intrepid's choice, and that was an awesome choice. So comment I have is Perfecto. So yeah, so good job Intrepid on that one. That's an awesome choice for a Bard Rogue. Can't go wrong with that. So next is Bard Ranger, and they had Song Warden. I'm not totally opposed to Song Warden, and Wild Song was another name I came up with here. Obviously you probably remember seeing that in the Ranger Bard slot. So I don't know. I would like to see Wild Song in one of those slots, either the Bard Ranger slot or the Ranger Bard counterpart slot. And Intrepid would be able to make a decision on this better than I could, knowing how the classes might play out, both those combos. But Wild Song, I'd love to see that in one of these two slots. They have Song Warden here, so what's the note I left? Song Warden's not bad, but Wild Song could also work, and Remedy's another repetitive name like Warden. Okay, yeah. So my thinking there was, yeah, Warden was another repetitive name. So, you have an actual Warden already in this list, so why have a Song Warden? Just try Wild Song maybe. Alright, so Bard Mage was Magician. Magician's not horrible, but who wants to be a magician when you can be an illusionist? It sounds way cooler. Let's see what the note is. I'm good with magician, but illusionist sounds much cooler. Okay, so pretty much sums it up. So next is a Bard Summoner. And this is where I want Siren to go. Please, Intrepid, please. So, Songcaller is what they had. Yeah, that's a Siren, essentially, right? Balladeer is another name I came up with for this spot, but Siren would be hands down my first choice. Why have a Songcaller when you can have a Siren? Isn't that what? isn't that what sirens do? They sing songs to call people. They would call sailors to their death essentially. Um, I mean, they're song callers. That's what a siren is. So Intrepid, if you're listening or watching this, please change Bard Summoner to Siren. Get it out of the Bard tank slot. War Chanter would work better there. Sounds much tougher, like more, I don't know, tanky. Siren sounds much more Bard Summoner-ish. That's my theory there. So, and I'm sticking to it. So, Bard Cleric. This is where they have Soul Weaver, and this is where Oracle would work. I think Oracle would be perfect in the Bard Cleric. Um, you know, what did I have for a note here? Let's see. Okay, Oracle, Prophet, and Seer are all perfect here. Look, I'm a poet. See, I'd make a great bard, though not as good as Jeffrey. Nice. I forgot I put that. Okay, so Soul Weaver's not bad, though it's not. It's my least favorite out of the names I've listed here. Okay, so obviously, Soul Weaver was Intrepid's choice. That's not my choice, so I don't want to take credit for that. But out of the names that are listed, including Soul Weaver, that I've listed, oops, let's get that out of there. My first choice would probably be Seer, but Oracle and Prophet are I think they're all pretty much synonyms of each other. Excuse me. They're kind of one and the same, I believe. But any one of them would be great there. Intrepid, if you're listening, once again, Soul Weaver. It's not horrible, but maybe one of those other ones are more fitting. What do you guys think? Do you think that Soul Weaver is good? Are you happy with that, or do you prefer one of those other names like Oracle, Prophet, or Seer? Okay, so finally, last but not least, a bard is a minstrel, and you can't go wrong with that. My comment is love minstrel here. Someone deserves an attaboy for this one. Yeah, so yeah, I was pretty psyched to see minstrel on this list. I'm completely fine with minstrel. I love that name here, and and that kind of closes things up. Once again, who knows what's going to happen with this, if it's going to go anywhere. It was fun doing it though, just scratching that creative itch and kind of see what I could come up with. Hopefully, it's not all for naught. Like I said, if I can just get Intrepid to kind of move away from the repetitiveness of some of the names they chose, that's fantastic. If I can make one player happy in getting their class combo renamed to something that they're feeling better about than the original name chosen, then my job's done. This was worth it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to your feedback. I really would love to hear what you guys think. If you agree, disagree, obviously, opinions are like, everyone's got one. So I just thought I'd give my 2 cents on this, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I can get some, stir up some conversation here with this. So Intrepid, if you see this, if you watch this, I apologize if I've stepped on any toes, and maybe you're too far along and you don't want to have to work on renaming class combos. But if you're not too far along and you see something you like, feel free to throw it in the game. I'd love to see some of these names in there, especially Crusader. Love to see that for the Cleric Fighter, and Templar move to high, where High Sword is. I'd love to see Druid. Druid's another one that comes off the top of my head that I'd love to see. You have to have a Druid in here somewhere, guys, right? There's several others that I love here. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching, and look forward to hearing from you guys. Take care.